So number one, if you are miserable in your life, and the way that I would unpack this is to say, if there are aspects of your life that you would not high five.
Yeah, there's an understatement.
Right?
Yeah,
but it's true. Isn't that like a simple way? If you think about the person that you're dating or that you're married to and you would not give them a high five,
oof.
That's a sign. That's a wake-up call. And it doesn't mean you necessarily have to leave, but it means you basically only have a couple choices. Either you get serious about what you want and you do the work to change how you're showing up and see if that changes the dynamic, or accept the way that it is, because it's not going to change, or leave. Those are your options. There's no middle ground here. Things do not change by just giving it more time to change. That's not how the world works. So that's rule number one. So if there's an aspect of your life, if you think about walking into the job that you have, and you do not want to high five the job, you do not want to high five the person you work for, you do not want to high five what your life looks like, change it. Because that is your body and your energy telling you it's not what you're up to in your life. It's not aligned with who you're meant to be. That's why you feel unhappy. That's why you feel constrained. That's why you feel depleted. The second thing that she said that you need to take to heart is that you got to be willing to ask for help, period. Because you don't have to do anything on your own, not in today's world. And help could mean taking an online course. Help could mean asking friends to support you. Help could mean asking your parents to let you sleep on the couch or move into the basement for a couple months while you figure it out. Help could mean asking your girlfriends to watch your dogs or watch your kids or watch whatever until you figure it out. So that's another thing she said. The other thing is this is it. This is it right here. This is the money. This is worth hundreds of millions of dollars. This is what I call a high five attitude. It's an attitude that's not grounded in arrogance. It's an attitude that you have, which is grounded in optimism and faith, and this belief that through your own attitude and your own effort, you can have a positive impact on any situation. In other words, just what Tara said, you can figure it out. And so then there will come the time when you got to jump. So you can figure it out. That's your attitude. Ask for help. That's one of the things you're going to do because you don't have to do this alone. And you're right. And the next thing is you got to be willing to jump. And jump may mean that you're going to actually quit the job or you're going to leave the relationship. Or jump may mean that you're going to build a runway. And so one of the things that I really want to compliment you on is that you've been, how long have you been thinking about opening your own studio?
Since I first saw that I can gather a crowd. When I first saw that I had something unique.
Okay, and when did you realize that?
Pretty soon after I started. I've been a teacher for 6 years. People told me immediately that I should open my own thing, that I should do my own thing.
Okay, so
6 years ago.
Did you hear that, everybody? For 6 years, this has been building inside of her. And look, that's okay. Because sometimes you got to stay in something that's uncomfortable and do it in somebody else's business or somebody else's method to start to build the confidence so that you know you can figure it out, so that you know you've got the people to ask for help, so that you know you're ready to jump. And so one thing about Tara is she has been literally building a runway for 6 years. You have. And so I want you to understand that you're about to see Tara and I make a map. We're going to map out kind of what she needs to do between now and the studio opening so that she can fund her life, so that she can raise a little bit of money, so that she can get some momentum, so that she is busy putting strategic blocks in place. I want you to realize that if you're not ready to jump, all of these things are things, all of these examples that we're going to give you in the map that we're going to build for Tara, a lot of which she's already assembled, are meant to show you that it is possible to build a pathway between where you are and where you want to go. And you lay it brick by brick. And so for 6 years, keep in mind, even though Tara says, 2 days ago you quit your job?
Yeah.
2 days ago.
Yeah.
So this is fresh. But for 6 years, she has been building a runway, right? So we're building a runway, and what's the purpose of the runway? The purpose of the runway is so that the plane can actually take off. The plane doesn't take off back here. So she's been teaching, she's been building an email list, She has a website, which is we're going to put it up for you, Love Offensive, so that you can check out Tara, so that you can take her classes, so that you can support her campaign. She's been doing retreats on her own. They're amazing. She's been doing all this stuff for 6 years, so that when she was ready to go, she had built a runway to take off. And so it's important, no matter where you are, to start putting the blocks in place. Well, now that you see that, now let's talk about this. So it's pretty easy to create a map. And I like to do it visually because it's so important when you're trying to make something happen, that you get out of your head and you can see it. And I'm like a super visual person. So today is, I don't even know what the date is. What is today?
The 16th.
September 16th.
Yeah.
Okay, September 16th. And when I talked to you 2 days ago, guys, 2 days ago, she quits her job, she signs a lease, she's like, Mel, I got a couple $1,000s. Like, that's what I got. Okay, so the 16th, we got, whatever. We're just gonna put like 1K. She's got more than that, but whatever. October 1st is what? When you get the
lease, I get the keys.
October 1st is when she gets the keys to her new studio space. And what is the business gonna be called?
Little Roadie Hot Power Yoga.
And when are you going to open the doors so people can come into the space?
Well, hopefully as soon as possible. I think realistically in December.
Okay,
probably.
great.
Yeah.
And here's what I like. Here's what I want to point out. I think giving yourself some breathing room between getting the keys and actually doors open is super important. One of the biggest mistakes that entrepreneurs make is that we rush. And we, in rushing, put way too much pressure on our dreams. And so because of today's world and because of streaming and because of technology, these are the gifts, by the way, of the pandemic. People are so used to taking classes online now. They're so used to streaming yoga classes. They're so used to using Zoom that your actual business is up and running now or can be up and running fast before the doors open. And by giving yourself 2 months, which I think is a very realistic time frame, from keys to doors open, you can now build the new runway, right? So this was the runway to be able to quit. Now we're gonna build a runway that is, same thing, from right now to December 1st, right? So all these little things just become dots on the map that help you gain momentum. Pretty cool, right? And having 2 months to be able to do that, to start laying out the bricks, is exactly what's going to allow you to breathe and to be present. And that's super important because when you're giving birth to anything, when you're creating something, it's such a magical time because there's so many people that are going to be drawn to this because we are all longing for a sense of magic and vibrancy and something new. And so people are going to be excited that you're taking this on. And I want you to be able to be present and not stressed and frazzled and coming from scarcity so that you can actually spot and witness all of the incredible things that are lining up for you.
Yeah.
Okay?
Thank you.
Having that kind of high five mindset that life is high fiving you back.
Yes.
And being able to see the magical ways in which that's happening, it's everything. So let me share, I'm gonna have Tara share with you basically 2 things that she's done because the second that I found out that she quit, I said, great, no problem. You don't even need to worry about the money because we're going to raise money and make money online as a way to fund your life and business before you even start.
Yes.
And we are going to also be able to utilize the 6 years of goodwill that you have built up by being everybody's, go-to yoga teacher. And you got people through the pandemic. So people want to support you. And so why don't you tell everybody what you did immediately that falls into the ask for help?
You're not really kidding with $1,000. I really jumped with absolutely no net and a faith that part of the runway is that I just constantly was where I said I would be when I said I would be there. That consistent reliability has built people to trust me.
Yeah.
So I need to turn and little by little, not ask too much from one person, but I started a GoFundMe campaign.
Great.
With an estimated cost of opening the studio, a line item of everything from a huge
60 grand, right?
Mm-hmm.
60 grand. So she started a GoFundMe campaign a day ago. How much money do you have already?
$9,000.
$9,000. And the average, it looked like the average donation was about $1,000. And so I asked her, and here's the thing, if you've already been out in the world doing good, or you have an incredible business plan, a GoFundMe campaign is extraordinary, because none of us like to ask for help. We think we're supposed to do it all on our own. The fact is, other people want to help you, especially if you've been showing up for them.
That's it.
And so a couple things about GoFundMe campaigns. There's some really interesting research that once you get to 50%, the majority of GoFundMe campaigns that are that reach 50% or more funded, they actually, like 90% of them go on to be fully funded.
Oh, nice.
And it's because people want to bet on something.
Yeah.
The other thing that you should do is put a video up. So right now, there's her page right there. I want you to put a video up. Really speaking from the heart, I want you to put a video up touring your new place and your vision, because that allows people to invest in the emotion and the vision, not just investing because of their relationship with you. Yeah. And your GoFundMe campaign will go a little bit wider, okay? So those are two things I want you to do. I want you to do a video, and for now, just let people donate. But if you really want to supercharge it, in about a week, send out to everybody that everybody that's donated, here's a link to a class as a thank you that you can play forever. And maybe it's a class that's for free on your Facebook page. It doesn't matter. You're just sending them a thank you. Then what I want you to do is I want you to say, for anybody willing to donate $1,500, I will give you a year membership to my new studio.
Oh, that's great.
And so or maybe it's $2,000.
Yeah.
You get a year of streaming, a year of unlimited classes. You're a part of the Founders Circle. Yep. So you're going to want to ask for, and this is almost like when a company raises money, you'll get X percentage company. You'll get equity in this company if you give us a certain amount of money to invest in our growth.
Yes.
And so you will then, ask for something, $1,500, whatever, $99, whatever it is that you think that is for a 1 year value. And then that allows people to double down. You thank them for whatever they gave, and it allows people to double down. Now, if anybody already gave you that, write to them and say, here's what I'm going to do for you because you gave me that already. Do you see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Okay, excellent. So that'll help you supersize this.
Awesome.
Then what you want to do is figure out how you can start, and you've already done this. So right now we've got the GoFundMe right here.
Yep.
You are also now starting to stream classes where people can pay per class.
Yes, on Zoom.
Excellent. Okay. The other thing that you've done, I've noticed, is that when October 1 happens, that you are streaming and you are giving people the option to get a month, right?
Yeah.
Now, obviously, the people that have paid this will automatically be part of that. Now, here's where social media comes in. I'm sure you were already going to do this, but when you're streaming those classes, make sure you're in the empty studio so that you are inviting people into the new space.
Great.
And at the end of every space, thank everybody who is part of your Founders Circle, who has donated $1,500 to have access for a year or whatever you're going to charge, right? And so you've done your class, you thank everybody that paid, and say, if you're interested in becoming a member of our Founders Circle, this is something that we're doing until doors open. Mm-hmm. Share it with your friends. Anybody can take yoga class. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
You got that?
Yes.
Your social media strategy should be taking everybody along the journey with you.
Yeah, definitely.
Live streaming every day. Guys, I'm here. We're putting up the paint color. Do you like lilac or blue?
Yeah.
Hey, this is what happens today. Cannot thank my Founders Circle enough. You want to make sure your social strategy is all about this journey. Got it? And the GoFundMe link is the link in all your social bios now.
Yes.
Got it?
Yes.
Excellent.
Awesome.
I am so happy that you are here because I want to talk about the 3 steps, simple steps, that you can take to stop thinking about changing your life and starting that business and actually start the damn thing right now.
Yes.
So for me personally, Marie, number 1 is just make the decision. Decide that this is the year that you're going to stop thinking and that you're going to do what it takes. And there is this moment for all of us where there's a line in the sand and it's like before life and then the life after you made this decision. And before I tell the moment that I knew I was going to do it, I'd love to hear, what was the moment for you when you actually decided, I'm taking control of my life and I'm going to figure this out?
It was a moment when I got a phone call from an HR department. I'm going to give you a little context, but I had a call. It was for an enormous promotion. It was more money. It was more prestige. It was more everything. And that little voice inside me said, no more. I can't do this. So let me paint the context.
Yeah.
I had started my career on Wall Street, on the floor of the New York Stock Exchange, right? I had ambition. I wanted to make a difference. I wanted to do so many things. But after about 6 months at that job, I felt like even though everyone around me was making a gajillion dollars, spiritually, they were bankrupt. And I kept hearing this small voice inside Mel that said, Marie, this isn't you. This isn't who you're meant to be. This isn't what you're meant to do. You're meant to do something else. But here's the problem. I didn't know what that something else was. And that voice tortured me for about 6 months until one day I was on the floor and I remember feeling dizzy, almost like I was having a panic attack, quite frankly. And I told my boss, hey, look, I need to go out and get some coffee. And he said, fine, go on a coffee break and come right back. Except I didn't go get coffee. I went to the steps of a church. It was Trinity Church downtown. And I sat in the steps and I cried so hard, Mel, because I felt like such a broken person. I don't come from money. My parents busted their chops to put me in school. I'm the first person in my family to even go to college. And here I was wanting to quit a stable job, yet not knowing what else I was supposed to do. And my dad gave me a piece of critical advice that not only saved my butt, but that set me on the path. And that advice was this. He said, Marie, you're going to wind up working for the next 40, 50 years of your life. You have to find something that you love, something that you feel like you're meant to do. And if this job is making you so sick that you came to me crying on the phone, then you need to quit and figure out what it is. I know you've always bartended, you've always waited tables, you've always babysat. I'm not worried about you keeping a roof over your head, but you've got to figure this out. And Mel, I gave my notice. And then I went on, I said, what the hell am I supposed to do in this world? I don't know. The only things I knew was that I loved creativity and I also loved business. And I thought, well, can I combine these two? Maybe I should work in, I don't know, women's magazines. You have to get, this was back in the late 90s, right? And so I got a job at Gourmet Magazine in the ad sales department. And I was like, this is great. This is going to be awesome. I'm going to be a professional. There's like, a much different environment. Wall Street was like 99% men. I love men, but it was just way imbalanced. And the magazine world was a lot more integrated. So 6 months into that job, I started hearing that small voice again. Marie, this isn't who you are. This isn't what you're meant to do. This isn't who you're supposed to be in the world. And I'm thinking, Mel, what's wrong with me? I know I'm a smart person. Why do I want to quit this job? I don't have a trust fund. I'm not, made of money. I need to work and I want to work, but I can't stand going to work every single day. I went to the HR department at Condé Nast Publications. I said, look, maybe, I need just a different position in a different career. I've been so heavily weighted on the business side, Wall Street, ad sales at Gourmet. Maybe I need to flex my creative side a little bit. So, an opportunity came up to be a fashion assistant at Mademoiselle magazine. And I was like, this has got to be it. This is supposed to be my life's path, super creative. I'm going to be going out doing like fashion shows and all this stuff. So I nailed this job and I'm in there and I'm happy at first because it was novel and new and that was stimulating. But a few months in, that same voice came back again. Marie, this isn't who you are. This isn't what you're meant to do. This isn't what you're supposed to be. And Mel, I will tell you, I felt broken at this point. All of my other friends were going off on their journeys. They were starting families. They were getting big promotions. They were buying houses. And here I was years after college, couldn't hold down a job because I constantly wanted to quit. And the other thing that kind of really got a little bunch in my pants, if I'm honest, was I couldn't make sense of the fact that no matter how hard I worked, I would earn the same exact amount every single week. And I would have to basically go to somebody else and kind of beg them to give me more money. And as someone who bartended her way through college, I knew that if I worked a little harder and I gave better service, I would create bigger profits, bigger tips. Anyway, one day happens when I'm at Mademoiselle. I'm on the internet when I probably shouldn't have been. And I read an article about this new profession at the time called coaching. Again, you got to remember, this is 1999. No one had heard of coaches, it wasn't even a thing. And I started reading about this profession, and this feeling came inside of me that was basically like a Christmas tree lighting up. You know, when I read about this possibility of this business that could be location independent, that could support people, you could do it from anywhere, I was like, this sounds like me. But I also had that other mean voice in my head that said, who the hell would hire a 23-year-old life coach? You haven't even lived life yet. You keep failing at every job you're at. You're in piles and piles of debt. You don't know what the hell you're doing. This is going to be one more thing you fail at. So I didn't listen to that mean voice, and I signed up for a 3-year coaching program that was all virtual at the time, which was groundbreaking back then, all teleseminars. And I started doing my coach training at night, and then was at Mademoiselle during the day. And then one day the HR department called me with an opportunity to go to Vogue. That was my moment. That was my fork in the road. Do you go to the best fashion magazine in the world and have a real job, healthcare, steady benefits, you're doing something that people understand? Or do you quit and start this weird ass life coaching business that no one has ever heard of, that you think sounds cheesy as hell, that you're probably going to fail at, that you don't even know what to do, and it's probably not going to work? And so that was my moment when I decided I can no longer keep beating my head against the wall trying to be an employee because I suck at it. And I'm no longer going to keep toiling away at doing things that I'm really not meant to do for basically no money. I need to go this other way.
Okay. So first of all, my mind is blown because 1999 was the year that my line in the sand was drawn. And it's also the year that I started to study and become a life coach. And I did not know that you and I synergistically had this. So secondly, I want to unpack a little bit about what you just said, and then I'll tell my story, because there was a lot in there that I think if you're thinking about this business that you want to start, or thinking about how you need to pivot your business online, or thinking about, well, what the hell would I start a business? I know I want one, but how do I don't even know what the idea is. There were so many things that you talked about. So you have literally helped more than 70,000 people start businesses, identify what businesses to start. You've helped countless women become millionaires. And so you must be able to identify for somebody, what does it feel like when that voice is talking to you? Like, because not everybody understands, like you've been thinking about something, but there is a voice that is saying this doesn't work for you. This isn't the right path for you. Can you kind of expand that out? So if somebody's been trapped in the thinking, they realize that, oh, like my wisdom, my intuition has been trying to get my attention for a while. What does that mean, Marie?
So that voice will nag at you. It will nag at you in the morning when you're getting up, and it will whisper that you're on the wrong path. During your day, whenever you're doing your job, you're going to get these uncomfortable feelings inside, like something is not right. You're not where you're supposed to be. When you're at home, you're probably thinking about or fantasizing about something different. You might be looking at people that run their own business, and there's this dream inside of you because I wish I could do that. You may be even too scared at this point to fully admit, but that's your fantasy. So that's some of the indications that your intuition, your internal knowing, your soul, that I believe is trying to speak to you. And mine was for years, until it got so loud and I was just so stubborn trying to go and stay on this conventional path, but I'm not a conventional person. And I bet there's so many people that are watching right now that don't fit into a box. I've never either. And so I had to have enough pain of doing the wrong thing and ignoring that voice than to finally say, you know what? I've tried all this other stuff and I've failed, so I don't have anything else to lose.
You know
And
what
I
I
can't.
also love that you just said, Marie, is this idea of being in a box. I always felt when I worked for somebody else that I was stuck in a box I didn't belong in. And, you know, I love that you said that it whispers, because if you don't pay attention to the fact that all this thinking that you're doing is because you're not supposed to be working for somebody else. You're supposed to do something
Yes.
more. You're supposed to be in control. You're not supposed to fit into that box. And for me, it became a freaking sledgehammer. So in 1999, I was working at a law firm. I absolutely hated it. And I would commute into work. So I would get my little suit on and I would get on the commuter train and I would take that commuter rail into Boston and I would walk from the station to the high rise and I'd go up the elevator. And every single step that I took toward that office building, my body felt like, ugh, do I have to do this? And look, I love working like you. I have worked since kids could have paper routes. I have waitressed and bus tables and bartended and lifeguarded and babysat just like you. I worked all through college. I worked through law school and I have never not liked working. But boy, when you're in the wrong situation, energetically your body is trying to get your attention. You're wired for happiness, you're wired for growth. And so when you're not in that situation, your whole inside start to twist. And I would literally feel my body going, I hate this, turn around, turn around. But like you're sitting there saying, who am I to quit? And
Yeah.
by the way, I didn't know what else I was going to do. I had no idea. Plus, like, and so here's what happened. I got pregnant. Okay, that's not the end of the story, but I get pregnant. Okay. I go on maternity leave and I have like a 10-week maternity leave. Week 6, I start having panic attacks because I have 4 weeks before I have to go back to a job I freaking hate. And so I go to my husband and I say, I need to quit my job. And he looks at me and he says, well, first of all, you're crazy. I stepped on my glasses this morning, so I got to keep adjusting them because they start looking like this. And then I actually do look kind of crazy. So he says, first of all, you're crazy. You will literally go out of your mind, Mel, if you're not working because you love working. And number 2, I don't know if you forgot, but we just bought this farmhouse and we're not like, we got a mortgage to pay. And so I'll never forget it. He said, here's the deal. He crunched the numbers and he said, you need to figure out how to make $60,000 because if you can make $60,000, we can pay the mortgage, we can pay for childcare, and we'll figure it out. We'll be okay. We can get rid of one of the cars. We can and you know, it sounds like a lot of money, but you know, I was like, okay. So I had 3.5 weeks and I had a problem to solve. And that's the moment I made this decision. I decided that this was the moment that I was going to figure this out. This was the moment that I was going to stop freaking thinking about what I wanted to do and thinking about how much I hated the path that I was on. And I was going to do the work to freaking figure it out. And it took me until the night before I was supposed to go back to work to network and find a job. And when they offered me the money, it was $55,000. And I was like, I'll take it. I'll take it. I'll take it. And this was the first .com startup bubble. And I talked my way into a job because I had decided that I was going to figure this out. I drew a line in the sand. And so if you're watching, whether you feel guilty because you got debt, or who are you, or you feel like an imposter like Marie's talking about, or you simply hate your job like I did, I want you to decide right now. There's a line in the sand and you're going to do whatever it takes to do the work to figure this out. This is the moment right here. And let me tell you, I called Marie in because, as I mentioned, you guys are blowing up in my DMs and the comments asking for advice about this. You want to start something. You can feel that it's time. You feel that this is what you know is right, but you don't know what the to do. Well, this lady right here, she is the expert in what to do. And so here's step number 2. We promised 3 steps to get you to stop thinking. Number 1, you've decided. This is it. No more Marie, Mel, tell me what to do next. Well, here's number 2. You're going to hate this. You don't have an idea? Great. Go. You don't know how to start? Great. You're in. You know, you don't feel ready? Awesome. Game on. Let's go. Like, that's how this is going to roll, because you got to start before you're ready. And by the way, everybody, I'm doing this right now. I literally have sat around and watched people like Marie and my friends, Jay Shetty and Lewis, like everybody that you guys listen to launch podcasts. And I'm like, I'm not ready. I don't know. I don't know when my podcast is going to be. I'm thinking about it. I hadn't made a decision. You have to start before you're ready. I started now. I'm like, that's it. I don't feel ready to do a podcast. I'm going all in. I'm freaking figuring it out. I'm starting before I'm ready. I know, Marie, you believe in this. You teach this, but what the hell does that even mean when you don't even know what your business idea is?
Well, there are many different ways to start before you're ready. You're right. Making the decision is step 1. You know, one of my other life mantras is that everything is figure outable. We live in the most miraculous time in history, right? So if there's any challenge, if there's any question, if there's any possibility that you're interested in exploring, you can figure it out. And starting just means taking some action. So for people out there that are watching right now, that you have an inkling of the idea that you want to start, you probably know something that you could do to take it to that next level. So that could be around opening a business checking account to kind of create the space and to say, you know what, I'm going to kind of put this line in the sand. I'm going to create the space for money.
But even if you don't have an idea?
Oh, well, okay. So if you don't have an idea, I mean, I'm just going to be honest about this. I've met so many people, thousands of people over the years who don't have an idea. You can generate ideas. You are a born creator. Every great business comes down to solving a problem for someone, figuring out their fears, their frustrations, or their dreams and their aspirations, and meeting that need. It's not that complicated. It is not rocket scientist. You do not need to have an advanced degree in order to become extremely successful as an entrepreneur. I don't. I barely sometimes can put proper sentences together, and that hasn't stopped me in over 2 friggin' decades. So you don't need to be a rocket scientist in order to come up with a great business idea. And in terms of business ideas, here's the one thing that I will say. I want you to generate a lot of them. When you're in that brainstorming mode of thinking about potential things that you could start up as a business, there's no bad ideas to start. You want to get out of the editing mode, out of trying to get it perfect, trying to get it, the exact one thing. That's not how business works. All of us start off really messy at first. In a little bit, we'll tell you about a problem that I solved for people, which is helping them vet their ideas, test their ideas in very low risk, low cost ways so that they can figure out which business idea is actually going to give them the greatest chance for success. No one has a business crystal ball. No one can guarantee it's actually going to work, but there are smart methodologies that you can use at the beginning of your entrepreneurial journey to give yourself the best possible chance of hitting something out of the park.
I got a confession, everybody. So I have watched Marie for over a decade, and I have been in awe and jealous and inspired and motivated and discouraged because Marie is a machine. And Marie literally jumps in with both feet. And one of the coolest things is that I think part of the problem, and one of the reasons why we all get so stuck thinking about what we want, but we don't ever take the step forward and take the action and make the decision and just say, screw it. I'm just going to start. I'm going to kind of whack my way forward and start moving toward what I want, is because we think we have to do it on our own.
Yes.
And I'm sitting here as I listen to you and your wisdom and the fact that you have helped more than 70,000 people do this. You are the expert in this. How you go from thinking to actually having a real business when you have zero experience, it scares you, but you are drawn toward it anyway. I'm like, God, I wish you were around 20 years. This would have saved me so much trouble, so much headache, so much loneliness to learn from somebody like you earlier. Well, the good news is that I got you now. And the thing that and I'm so excited to introduce Marie to you. The thing that I also really want to say about this is that it is enough to know that you want to do something to start walking toward it. And for the women out there, I got to say something, and I know you know this, Marie, but perfectionism is something that started when you were 13. Like, there's research on this. Boys and girls at the age of 11, we have the exact same level of confidence. By the time girls hit puberty at 12 and your body starts to change and you lose control over it, girls' confidence plummets by 30%. And within one more year, by the age of 13, the majority of girls not only struggle with perfectionism, but based on the scientific research, the majority of girls by the age of 13 are afraid to make a mistake. And perfectionism is a coping mechanism for judgment. You're afraid somebody's going to judge you. You're afraid of getting it wrong. You're afraid of looking stupid. You're afraid that somebody's not going to love you anymore. You're afraid that your partner's going to be mad at you or your kids won't do this. And all of this fear is what's actually stopping you. And the perfectionism is this, it's bull. You're sitting there thinking, I got to have the perfect idea because that's going to make it a success. It's actually the opposite, right, Marie?
Oh my God, completely. So a couple things. I have so much to say. One, we always strive for, and this is what I drill into both our students. I drill it into myself because I always have to keep watch over those perfectionist tendencies. They don't just go away. It's progress, not perfection. And just to be real, y'all, I was a hot mess when I started my business. I was all over the place. I didn't know what the hell I was doing. I screwed up so many times, and I'm still here over 20 years later. So you do not have to get this perfect out of the gate. You do not even have to have the perfect first idea. All you need to do, as Mel said, is decide, this is my line in the sand. I want more for myself. I want more for my family. I want the financial freedom, the location freedom, the life freedom that entrepreneurship provides, and I will figure it out because everything is figure outable. And honestly, 99% of what you need to do to grow a business. And again, we're in this. Mel was just talking about the fact she doesn't know exactly how to start a podcast. There's things that we're doing in our business. We don't know what the hell we're doing, but we don't look for perfectionism. We're like, no, we are charging ahead and we will figure it out as we go because everything is figure outable. And we surround ourselves. Like Mel and I are colleagues and friends now. And we have other friends that we're like, hey, we're doing something new. What you mentioned, Mel, was so important. You don't have to go at this alone. When I started, I was terrified. I didn't have any colleagues. And I felt like, just blindly reaching around in the dark, stumbling, tripping over stuff. And quite frankly, Mel, that's why I started teaching around entrepreneurship over 13 years ago, because I was watching so many smart, creative women who were stepping outside, apart from the corporate path and wanting to do their own thing. And here's what they would say to me, Mel. They say, I have this idea, or I know I want to do my own thing, but I need to go find a business partner. I need to go find someone who understands marketing and sales because I'm just the idea person. Someone else should do that, right? I'm not qualified, or I'm not going to get it right. And Mel, I would want to shake the shit out of them because I said, look, if you are someone who believes in your product and your service and you don't learn the just handful of things that you need to know to market and sell effectively, you are stealing from those who need you most. And you are setting yourself up for failure. You are setting yourself up to get taken advantage of by people who know more than you. And you are setting yourself up to fail because you won't even be able to effectively hire a team to support you because you don't know what the hell they should be doing, whether it's effective or not. So I had to have this huge conversation with so many people around how to take an idea or start their idea and actually become effective at it. So not only could the craft of what they're doing succeed, but the business end of it as well. That's a whole other conversation. And that's when I realized that I had to codify this and put it into a training because this is what I wished I had access to when I first started. And it took me 7 years of continuing to wait tables and bartend
Right.
and do all the different things before I was confident enough financially and emotionally to run my business on my own.
Okay, so I want also everybody to hear this. This is not about, I'm just going to quit my job and then jump in and no. This is about, and here's step number 3, to stop thinking and actually start that business now. You decide, you start by taking action, because as Marie says in her New York Times bestselling book, everything's figure outable. But number 3, the step is you got to adopt a different mindset. So let's flip away the perfectionism that you got to know everything and you got to know it all and be right. And let's adopt a student mindset. You must become a student and start studying the thing that you want to become great at. And who are you going to study? You're going to study the greatest person on the planet, which is Marie, because she's taught 70,000 people how to do this. Okay. And she's got millionaires around her who went from nothing to lots and lots of money and freedom. And so whether you are sitting there going, I want to start something, but I don't know what, you're in the right place. Or if you're like so many of my friends, I've got so many friends because I'm 53 who are like, Marie, I've been an interior designer for 2 decades.
Yep.
I see people like Studio McGee and Amber and all these people exploding online. I don't even, should I be on TikTok? Should I be on Instagram? Do I have a what? Like, I don't know what to do. This is what you need to do. You need to learn from somebody like Marie, because she's going to teach you how to stop thinking, should I be on TikTok? Should I be on Instagram? Should I buy ads? Should I do this? Should I do a market? Should I do? And she's going to teach you how to start and evolve that side of your business. And you're going to need to study it. And it's easy stuff when you have somebody who has been there. It's easy to be a student when you're learning from a master. And that's what you've been doing. That's what you've been doing, right? And so what do people need to actually start to study, Marie?
So this is one of the best lessons I had when I was going through my coach training. And I will never forget this. You know, they taught you could be the best coach in the entire world. You could be so effective at helping people transform their lives and creating change. But if you don't master the business side of a coaching business, you will fail. You will not have any clients, you won't have any longevity, and you will not make the impact that you were born to make. And Mel, I got that message because I understood that there is the art and the craft of whatever we do, whether you are a designer, you could be an interior designer or a website designer, you could be a chef, you could be someone who works with animals, you could be someone who creates online apps. It doesn't matter what the art is, the craft is of what you do. It matters that you're able to market and sell that effectively, because I'm sure you've seen it. I'm sure you've seen it, Mel, and I'm sure the people who have seen it have witnessed this. There are mediocre products and services out there that somehow have someone behind them that know their game when it comes to marketing and sales. And that there are other people who are super talented and super great at what they do, but they don't have clients. They don't have money. They're constantly in scarcity and survival. What's the difference? It's that second piece. So the thing that you need to know is that no matter what you want to do to make a difference in the world, whatever that gift is that you want to share with others, you must commit to mastering what I call modern marketing. And I want to give a quick distinction here. So many, especially women, but not all, people, especially creative people, and I have a lot of creative men and all genders in my life who eschew like, oh, sales and marketing. Oh, I don't want to be a used car salesman. I don't want to be manipulative. I don't want to be pushy. I don't want to be aggressive. I don't want to annoy my family and friends and come off like, whatever. And I always let them know, I'm like, it's understandable that you have those associations, because most of us think of sales and marketing like used car salesmen or people that are aggressive. But what most people are unaware of, that there's actually this whole other paradigm of marketing that I call modern marketing, where the best of your humanity comes out, not the worst, where all of your creativity gets to pour through, where you're flexing the muscles of generosity, of compassion, of empathy, of listening, of creating such extraordinary experiences for people even before they give you money. And then they'll line up around the corner with their credit card when you have an offer for them. It is a completely different way, not only of understanding marketing, but of actually practicing the art of it. That again, I'm living proof, and we have hundreds and hundreds of case studies where people are able to be in their business at their full selves, where anything that they do to share about their products and their services comes across like art, and people thank them for actually letting them know that it exists. And they have waiting lists and they sell things out in the best way. It's like, you want to be a sellout. Anyone's, I don't want to be a sellout. I'm like, nope, be a sellout. You want things sold out. You want crowds sold out. You want books sold out. We got to flip all of this on its head. But that all comes down to being willing to be a student, to understand what you don't know, and then being able to acquire these skills that, quite honestly, Mel, will give you financial freedom for life. You often talk about taking control. I'm someone who wanted to take control of my own destiny. I wanted control of my own time. I wanted to be independent. I wanted to be able to pour my financial, my intellectual, my spiritual resources towards that which mattered most to me. And my business, entrepreneurship, has been the vehicle that has allowed me to grow better as a person, almost beyond anything else that I've done.
Mel, can you talk about pivoting in your life to start the next chapter? Oh, this is a layup. When you want to start your own business, but all the fears creep in and it seems safer to stay in your current position. How many of you can relate to this question? You really want to start a business, but you feel paralyzed because of the risk involved with that, right? And that's what Carol Lee's asking. Finding the time to build the business over the X number of months seems impossible when there's so many other things, including being a mom and a partner, and of course the work that I've got to do. The self-doubt becomes paralyzing, and it's easier to just stay busy with everyone else's needs. Here's the most important part of that question. You ready? It's easier. It's easier to stay busy. It's easier to stay where I am. It's easier to focus on everyone else. It's easier to listen to the fears. Changing is hard. Changing sucks. That's why it's so hard to do. It doesn't feel easy. It doesn't feel simple. It doesn't feel safe. That's why you need to push yourself. And so if you're somebody like Carol Lee, who is thinking about making a pivot, but you're paralyzed, you're going to have to find the courage to take action. You're going to have to find the confidence in believing in yourself and being able to try. You're going to have to create the discipline through creating small promises and learning how to keep them, because that's the foundation to changing anything. You know, habits is a big fancy word. Launching a business is a big thing. Getting anything done in your life, everyone, comes down to being able to make and keep the promises you make to yourself. And so, Carol Lee, first of all, you don't have to leave your job. What you have to do is you have to build the moment, you have to build the discipline of just working on it every single day for small amounts of time. And that's a new habit, because right now you're listening to the self-doubt, so you don't do anything. You're listening to the fears, so you don't do anything. You're listening to the needs of everybody else, because that's a habit, so you don't create time for yourself. And so what you need to do to launch this business is to have a breakthrough in one thing: the ability to make a plan and keep promises. That's it. And that's exactly, look, if you have the means to do it, the power of you is going to teach you how to do it. Because unlocking the power of you is about breaking the habits and patterns that are holding you back and establishing the small changes and patterns on a daily basis that start to propel your life forward. That's exactly. Mama on a Mission says people need this now more than ever. And I can't agree with you more. And selfishly, I'm bringing the power of you back because I need it. I need to write the next chapter in my business. I need to do the work to become a better person. From Diego, I have a dream of opening my own restaurant, but I'm terrified to start. How many of you have ever thought about opening up a restaurant or starting a small business or having some kind of side hustle? It doesn't have to be a restaurant. Give me a thumbs up or a heart or something if you have a dream of launching something of your own. You're not alone, by the way. In fact, for the first time in history, when the Pew Research Center did this study about the American dream, and I realize we have a huge international audience, but at least in the United States, the American dream used to be, I really dream of owning my own home. Do you know what the American dream is now for the majority of people? It's, I want to own my own business. And so whether you're interested in launching a restaurant or you would love to have a business of any size, shape, or form in any vertical that you can think of, this is a question that you need to pay attention to, okay? Because I know this is also impacting you. I'm terrified to start. I know I have the potential to be really successful, but I just can't get myself to actually do something about it. You know, sometimes when the dream is so big, the fact that it's so big becomes paralyzing, because you think about where you are right now and you think, holy cow, that thing that I really want? How do you even start when the dream is so big? So here's what we're gonna do today. We're gonna shrink it down, because you know me, I am all about simplicity. I'm all about making sure that the advice works for you, because if it doesn't work for you, you're not gonna do it. And I'm all about switching how you think about things. So Diego, first of all, I don't want you to think about opening a restaurant. I don't want you to think about launching that business, because that's something that will happen a year from now. What I want you to think about is I want you to shrink your thinking. I want you to think about researching a restaurant. I want you to think about preparing to launch a restaurant. I want you to think about learning about launching a restaurant. Do you see how just saying, I want to learn about launching a restaurant changes how you feel versus I'm launching a restaurant, which feels so big? You're just in a phase where you're learning and researching this idea, which all of a sudden takes all the pressure off, doesn't it? Awesome. So that's number one. Let's shrink it. Let's not talk about launching it. Let's not talk about building it. Let's talk about researching and learning about it, okay? So that takes the pressure off. Then the next thing that I want you to do is I want you to focus on something that I talk about all the time. If you're researching and learning about launching a restaurant or a business, all I want you to do, Professor Mel has an assignment for you. I want you to find 10 to 15 minutes. That's it. That's all it takes. 10 to 15 minutes. And I want you to do one thing for 10 or 15 minutes a day that helps you learn or research about the idea of launching a restaurant. How many of you are starting to feel a little bit lighter? How many of you are starting to feel like, holy cow, thinking about it that way, I actually could get started today? Making this smaller and making it something that I'm learning about rather than doing and launching and that somehow thinking about it differently frees up the ability to get started. Amazing. I'm so happy that that is working for you. So I want you to do one small thing a day. So what could you do? You could read an article about somebody that launched a first-time restaurant. You could look online for 10 to 15 minutes for a local restaurant networking event. You could search YouTube and you could look for videos that are restaurant tutorial opening things. You could go to Barnes & Noble or your local library and find a book. You could apply for a job on the weekends and work in a restaurant if you've never worked in a restaurant to see how it feels. Because what are you doing? You're not launching or building a restaurant yet. You're learning about it and you're researching it. And your job as a student of this subject is to do something every day for 10 or 15 minutes in order to learn or research it. That's it. That's all I want you to do, because here's what I know. If I get you to start doing that and you do this every day for 10 or 15 minutes, which you absolutely can, guess what's going to happen? You're going to feel momentum. You're going to feel like you're working on it. You're going to meet people that are interested in it. You're going to learn things that are going to lead to the next thing that you need to learn. And you will have mastered the art of getting started. And by doing something a little bit every day, you're also going to master the art of continuing to keep going. And from there, it'll snowball. I promise you. I promise you. As you meet people, the next thing you'll do would be to learn more from them. As you read and watch tutorials about people that have started restaurants, as you watch television programming about it, you're going to feel more inspired. You're going to start to see, I think I can do this. That's going to lead to the next thing. Trust me when I say it's all about the little progress you make every day. So let me recap. If you, like Diego, have a dream of launching a business or starting something big, but you can't even seem to begin, I want you to stop talking about launching it and building it, and I want you to shrink it back to I'm learning about it and researching it. That's number one. Number two, 10 to 15 minutes a day, you are a student of this subject. That's it. Get yourself a notebook where you keep all your notes. Get yourself organized like you would as a student, and find one thing you can do every single day that teaches you a little bit something about this subject that you're really interested in. And trust me, it'll all happen just by doing that. Researchers found that people, by the way, who are making progress towards their goals every single day and learning something new about something that you're interested in launching or building is progress. That's how you do it. And another thing that I would recommend is there's an incredible podcast called How I Built This, which is all interviews with entrepreneurs of some of the most amazing products and brands, and it's the backstory of how people did it. And what you're going to learn is before they launched it and built it, they became a student of it. They researched it. They learned something every single day, which is exactly what you're going to do to get started, because that's exactly what the greats do in order to get started. If you want to create a business and you don't know where to begin, start here. Number one, become a student. You live in the most extraordinary moment of time. You can create a business online using a phone. You can be anywhere in the world. You can sell to anybody on the planet. It is the coolest moment in time. There's so much technology to help you. There's so much information out there. So number one, become a student and give yourself a runway. You see, the mistake that most people make is they get into this either or thinking. Either I'm somebody's employee or I start a business. Either I do this or I do that. The more powerful and abundant mindset is and the research bears this out. You are 33% less likely to fail. This is research from one of the top business schools in the world, Wharton at the University of Pennsylvania. You are 33% less likely to fail if you research, begin, and start a side hustle while you're still in your old life. And the reason why you want to create a runway for yourself and you want to be a student of starting a business first is because when you give yourself a runway to take off, you lower the amount of risks that you're taking because you're learning, you're giving yourself time, you are step by step by step, brick by brick every day laying the foundation of this runway. Because if you think about an airplane, a 747 doesn't just lift off the ground. It has to gain momentum and speed in order to take off. And if you just quit your job and decide you're just going to suddenly do this thing, the problem with that is the stakes become so high in terms of success in this new business that you're going to become paralyzed by perfectionism and procrastination, because you're going to get so stressed out because the stakes are now so high and you got to pay your bills and your rent and pay for groceries based on everything that you're doing in this brand new business, and now you're freaking out. Don't do that to yourself. You deserve a runway. Be a student first. Create a 6-month plan and build the runway every single day using the tools I'm telling you. When the alarm rings, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, get up, and get up a half an hour earlier than you normally do, and use that 30 minutes when the house is quiet, before you look at your phone, before you start the day, to work on that runway. Take action forward every single day. Make sure you high-five yourself in the mirror, because one of the coolest things about business is being in business for yourself. One of the hardest things about business is you're in business for yourself. And nobody tells you that unless you love the game of building a business, it can be stressful and it can be isolating. And so you got to make sure that you are in partnership with yourself, cheering yourself forward every single step of the way. So number 1, become a student. Number 2, build a runway. Number 3, give yourself at least 6 months before you're ready to just quit your job. And number 4, celebrate yourself every single step of the way, because by building up that sense of celebration and cheering for yourself, you will absolutely start building momentum. And I think that's the mistake that most of us make for our entire lives. Ever since you were young, you have been arguing against your dreams. You've been telling yourself all the reasons why it can't be you. You've been doubting yourself. And so, here you are as an adult and you're still thinking like you're in middle school. Stop it.
So since I just changed directions to work with teens and young adults, now it's really kind of getting into the mindset of how do I approach the parents? Where do I find them? So I have a 9-to-5 that I work with as well through a corporation. So it was easier for me to find young women leaders before because I was always in front of them. But now I have to change that. And I guess I'm not quite sure how to do that. Do I approach schools, or do I try to do some speaking there? Or is it that I just have to find a platform where moms and parents are?
Okay. So what you're asking is, how do I find the people that would buy from me, right? How do I reach the people I want to make an impact for? What I don't want you to do, everybody, is I don't want you to have a needle in a haystack mentality. I don't want you to narrow your focus and say, should I go to schools? Should I do this? Should I do that? I want you to invert it. Okay. And what I mean by that is, instead of looking for the singular thing, the singular place that you're going to find people, I want you to first think about, what is it that I need to put out into the world? What conversation do I want to be having on social media so that anybody looking for this sort of thing can find me? And when you're just getting started, what that means, in my opinion, and again, you're going to get all kinds of information in this course, all kinds of resources, but to just get started, everybody, you need a 1-pager in terms of your website. I personally believe if you are launching a service-based business where you are the one providing the service, I prefer that your name be the URL. And if you cannot get your name, somehow get your name in it. Because if you think about it, when people are going to refer you to other people, they're not going to remember the such and such coaching service or the this and that, blah, blah, blah. They're going to refer you, the human being. You even just said, I got certified in John Maxwell. You referred to John Maxwell. And so first and foremost, you want to make sure you understand you are the brand. Okay. So don't worry about a fancy name. If you have a fancy name, that's no big deal. But I want to encourage you to really think about the fact that you want to build equity in your name. My husband and I right now are building this house in Southern Vermont. And the guy that is building it, Eric Gutbeer, he has a construction company. I think it's Red Mountain Construction. I never refer to the construction company, even though that's what's on his car. That's what the website is. That's what the URL handle is. I only ever refer to him as Eric. And that's how I would introduce him to somebody. The woman that's helping me pick out the stuff, so that it's we got tile and that stuff. Her business is called Blend Designs. I don't refer to people to Blend Designs. I refer them to Christina. And so if you are a service-based business, do not underestimate how important it is that you build your name. That's number 1. Number 2, I believe it is extraordinarily important for you to start having a conversation with the world about what you do. What does that mean? That means before you go into a school and start talking to people, make sure you have a 1-page website that somebody can find you at, or a Facebook page that looks legit, or a LinkedIn page that looks like a place online that people can find you, where you explain that this is what you do. And the reason why you want that is because if you do go into a school and you talk to somebody, they're then going to Google you, or they're then going to want to go look, and they just need to see a page. That's it. You need a place just to get started. Because a lot of times in the beginning, I got myself totally freaked out about, oh, I need 10 pages. I need this. I need testimonials. I need the other thing. If you're making the pivot now, keep it simple, because that's going to give you the confidence to be able to get out there and know that people are going to see something that backs up what you're saying. And it can be very simple. Third thing is, and I'm going to hammer this a lot, everybody, social media. Your social media accounts, especially if you're in business for yourself, should reflect what you're doing in business. Whether you're taking a photo of yourself with your favorite book for teenagers, whether you are writing short passages, whether you're doing those little swipe series, the 7 things that make, girls, insecure, ages 15, whatever. I want you to start to realize that even more important than your website, your social media is speaking volumes about what you do. And the reason why I went from don't have a needle in the haystack mindset, let's invert it and let's make sure that you're everywhere before you think about where the audience is because when you start to walk into schools, when you start to have parents hire you to work with their kids, there is going to be a chain reaction of people who are going to want to talk to you about what you're doing. And I'm going to tell you why. Let me just take a sip of water. It is impossible to find a therapist. Anxiety levels in kids are through the roof. There has never been a greater need for somebody to offer coaching services to kids. And you want to make it very easy and very clear that this is what you do. Can't find a therapist and you really just need somebody to provide structure and goal setting and accountability. I work with kids with ADHD. I work with kids like this. I work with kids like that. I have experience in this. There you go. Make it very easy for them to understand what you do and to reach out and ask you about it. And so once you have a 1-pager, once you've got 1 or 2 posts that look fine, it does not have to be like a full-on content strategy. Now you're in business. And then, yes, you should go to schools. The other place that you should go, where else have you thought about going before I just tell you all this? Because I'm sure you know.
Yeah, so I've obviously thought of the schools. I've thought of high schools and college. I have an 18, well, she's going to be 18 in a couple of weeks, my daughter. And so I was thinking about talking to her and getting in front of her friends and maybe doing some surveys of like what they're struggling with and then just talking to their parents. I mean, I have 4 children. I should be able to talk to parents. And I think that, again, that social circle.
Now, hold on. Did anybody else pick up on a little insecurity there? I have 4 kids. I should be able to talk to parents. Yeah. So my suspicion is that are you sure about your pricing? And are you sure about the program you're offering?
No, I'm not. So the program, I think that's what it is. I know what I want to do.
What do you want to do?
I just want to mentor girls so that they know that their circumstances and the hard decisions that they go through at a young age aren't going to define who they are as they become adults. And I don't know why that's so, it's definitely a mindset. I know it's all mindset and I feel it in my bones when I talk about it, that I have the ability to do it and I'm holding myself back and I don't know why.
So what do you charge? Let's talk about this right now.
The thing is, at the moment, I haven't been officially charging.
No problem. Let's decide right now. If you were to charge your friend tomorrow, which we're not, but you could say, I need you to be my first paying client. You're buying dinner the next 2 nights and it better be worth $500. Like, I don't know. I'm just making it up.
If I'm honest with you, I don't think, I think 250 would be my start. And then I'd move up from there, a session. Because I'm worth it. Like,
well, first of all, you're going to give me clarity in my life.
I know.
And you're only charging me $250. Are you serious now?
I know. Okay. All right.
Is it one session? How many sessions would it take for me working with you to really feel like I got this purpose map or whatever, whatever you call it?
One session will make you know that I'm the right person for you.
Perfect.
Simple as that.
Then maybe you do this. Maybe you do this until you get going. It's a $250 consultation.
Yes.
And either way, you're going to leave with X.
Yeah.
And if you decide that you want me to do this process with you, it's $2,500 and it takes X. And you will still, for the $250, get X, Y, and Z. But that's what I charge. I have a wait list. I only work with a certain number of people. That's it.
That works.
Okay. I'm going to tell you a story. So this is super important because you cannot price yourself based on your insecurity. You have to price yourself based on what the market perceives is valuable. And I'm going to share with you an example. So as my speaking career started to take off, and I started getting booked and booked and booked and booked and booked. And I had this agent, he's like, you got to raise your price, dude. And keep in mind, 5 years ago, I still had liens on my house. So I was coming from a real scarcity mindset. And I was getting $25,000 a speech, which I thought was insane. I had never made that kind of money. Of course, you've got agents, so 25% goes off the top, but I was still like almost embarrassed to say, well, that's my, I didn't even have to say it. He said it. I was embarrassed that how is somebody paying me that? This would have probably been 6 years ago. And there was a bank, publicly traded bank, Fortune 100 financial institution. Their CEO was having a retreat. Their chief HR officer was at I can't remember whether it was like Rodan and Fields or, one of the multi-level marketing companies. And she's like, you got to get Mel Robbins in here to teach the 5-second rule. So I get brought into Philadelphia. This was the most nerve-wracking speech I'd ever given in my entire life because I found out that Dan Pink, the New York Times bestselling author, and this like super famous coach that's like a CEO coach who also has a big consulting company and multiple New York Times bestsellers, they were both speaking that day. So like a complete moron, I go the night before and then sit in the back of the room to watch these greats go. And the whole time I'm having a panic attack because I'm thinking, they're so good. There's no, how, I don't know what I'm going to say. How am I going to top this? This is so good. Oh my God. They're going to want their money back. I deliver the speech. I fucking kill it. At the end of the speech, standing ovation, the whole thing, because the 5-second rule, when I give a speech on stage, it's like a multimedia emotional thing. It's really a speech about anxiety and mental health and suicide and the 5-second decisions that change your life.
Yeah.
And so everybody's a mess. And the chief HR officer comes up to me afterwards and she says, Mel, I have to tell you something. And I said, great. And she said, we almost didn't hire you. And I said, why? And she said, because you were so inexpensive. We were told you were so good that when we heard your price, we actually didn't believe that you could be as good as everybody says you are. And then she said, that coach got paid 3 times what you got paid. That author got paid 4 times what you got paid. Oh, and you were 50 times better than either one of them. She said, you have to raise your prices because your price that you're charging does not match the value that you give. And if you underprice yourself because of your insecurity, You are communicating that you're not, that the value isn't worth it.
Okay.
And so you've got to think the kind of person that you want to, and for many of you, for example, B School, that's a stretch. It's not an inexpensive program. But because it was a stretch, didn't that make you feel that there must be value in that program?
Yeah.
You see, nobody actually wants to feel like they're a bargain. People want to feel as if you see the potential and the growth. People want to feel like this is going to be worth it. And, you know, the truth is, I get paid $100,000 to give a 1-hour speech at this point. Because starting to raise the price raised my game. There's a reason why I'm the #1 female speaker in the world. There's a reason why people don't even blink. It's because when she said that to me, it was a fucking gift. Because I was letting my insecurity price me. I didn't even see my own potential and my value. And it's important for you guys to hear that number, not because I'm bragging. I mean, clearly, if I'm, you know, to your point, Scarlett, you know, there's lots of things that we could be doing this afternoon. And I just wanted to be with you guys because I'm so excited that you're investing in yourself. And I'm in it to make an impact. When you cross the line from wanting to make an impact to truly going, I'm going to also make a fucking business out of this. You got to think like a businesswoman. And there is tremendous value to what you're doing. And by the way, just because you can't do it for yourself doesn't mean you're not providing value. It's very hard to do for yourself what you can do for other people.
Yes.
I don't coach myself. Other people coach me.
I agree. I fully agree with that. I know that I can give everyone the best advice, the best training, the best resources. And then sometimes when it comes to myself, I'm like, okay, it's not until I hear it back, somebody else is giving me that information. I'm like, yeah, I know that. Why don't I do it for myself? That's the reason. I can't lie. I recently came across you, Mel, when I was fully focused on what it is I wanted to do. You came up everywhere in my timeline, everywhere. And I know that nothing is on purpose. Nothing is not supposed to be. Like, I know everything's intentional, right? So God showed up. He said, this is what you need to do. This is who you need to follow. This is who you're supposed to be kind of learning from. So I decided, I started subscribing. I was listening to all of your podcasts. I'm like, okay, I've got to buy all her books. And Maria, I found about her last year. Her school came up last year and I'd missed it. So I signed up to the waiting list. And I saw it pop up and I thought, am I ready for that? And then you popped up with her, with the interview you had with her. And I was like, okay, this is it. And then it came up again. And I'm like, Tanya, do not miss this, because it's going to blow your mind and it's going to elevate you, which in turn means that you are going to be that gift to somebody else. So therefore, if I don't show up, that means somebody else doesn't show up and doesn't get to do what they're supposed to do. So yeah, I'm so grateful, honestly.
I'm so grateful that you're here. I'm so grateful that all of you are here. And let me say one more thing about the money. When we underprice ourselves, we are actually making it harder for other women.
Yes, that part. Yeah.
You are not doing yourself any favors. You are not doing anybody else any favors. And by the way, you're not doing your client any favors by giving them a bargain. People don't want to feel like you expect less of them. People want to feel like you see something more for them. If somebody can't pay the $250, they shouldn't work with you. That's not the business you're in.
That's true.
They need to do the work to find the $250 so that they can then actually show up and work with you.
I agree. Love it. I'm so gassed.
Awesome. Awesome. So there's a couple things that I'm going to tell you. First of all, congratulations on your success, on your family. That's super cool. There's no good advice. There's no good advice because, number one, your life is going to change dramatically based on the ages of your kids. So when your kids hit school and you suddenly have kind of that 9 to 3 zone freed up, that's a whole different phase. When your kids are little, you can be gone a lot more, believe it or not, because they're not going to remember it. And what they really need are people paying attention to them, and you need to pay attention to your business. What you want to do, I personally think, is be very, very disciplined about your time management so that you have a great morning routine that you do before the kids get up so you can get focused for the day, be present with the kids, get into business mode if you can, and then plan your quitting time. When are you going to put the phone down? When are you going to make some decisions so you can be present at night? Planning your quitting time is really important because what it does is it actually creates more intensity in terms of the amount of hours that you're giving to work. Because have you ever noticed if you give a project 8 hours, you'll use 8 hours.
Yeah,
but if you do the same project in 30 minutes, you'll finish it in 30 minutes. The other thing I want to say is this. There is no greater gift for a woman to give to her kids than to show them an example of somebody who's empowered and alive in the world. No greater gift. People ask me all the time, how are your kids about the fact that you travel? And the truth is, do I miss them? Of course. Does it suck at times where I'm sitting in a Marriott somewhere and I'm missing a lacrosse game? You better believe it does. However, I wouldn't trade it for the world because they are seeing what it looks like to have to have a parent be so self-expressed and happy and also creating a life. And so the example that you are giving to your kids by A, being intentional about your time, B, building something that's important to you, C, showing them what an entrepreneurial life looks like, and 4, leveraging the web to do it as this is the coolest thing you could possibly do. So there is no balance. There will be periods where you feel out of whack. It's cool. We all go through it. And just pay attention to when you're really depleted as a mom and then do more things that energize you. Pay attention to when you're really depleted as a business owner and then do more things that energize you. And that's it. Like, you just got to tune in. There will be weeks where you could travel for a week away from your kids and not miss them at all. And that's fine. That's fine. Your kids are going to be fine. You got to focus on you being happy and having the discipline to work during certain hours so you can be present for certain hours with them too.
Mel, do you see a lot of society, a lot of moms, a lot of female entrepreneurs, even men? Do you see a lot of people using kids or they don't have any time as a crutch to not start a business, to not follow their passion?
Yeah, I think it's a huge fear that, you're going to do something wrong if you cut the income and pursue a passion, or that you are going to jeopardize your family somehow. The truth is, it's actually the best thing you could do for your family. Because showing kids a model where you're building something, that is so empowering. They can't learn that in school. I'm a 4th generation small business owner. I grew up around a kitchen table with farmers and machinists, and my dad was a doc. My mom had a retail store, a bakery, that just was life. And so it's no surprise to me that I have gone on to launch my own businesses, that I married an entrepreneur, that, and so I think that you've got to really think about, you got one shot at this life. That's it. And there's no perfect time to do anything. Now, I'm not suggesting you quit your job right now if that's the situation, but start your side hustle for sure and grow it until you get to a point where you can. And for those of you that are at a point with the million followers, Kelly's hardest decision is going to be this one: hiring somebody. At some point, every entrepreneur faces the situation where you just can't grow on your own anymore. It's just not possible. There are not enough hours. There's too much to do. There's too much to do that's outside your skill set. And so if Kelly hasn't already outsourced, whether it's fan management in terms of the comments,
or she hasn't hired somebody underneath her to come in and do it, then, or hired somebody to deal with the business aspects of things, now is the time to bite the bullet, drop the amount of money that you make for a little bit, but actually give yourself back the time so you can focus on the things that make you money. That's one of the hardest growth points for most people. And I bet that there's a lot of you, if you're making 6 figures and you're not making 7, that you haven't invested in a team yet that's really working.
That's huge. I think, and that's tough to do because you're giving up some of your business. You feel like you could do it better than everybody else. So that's a game changer. I want people to understand. And we talk about that too, making sure you hire. If someone can do something 80% as good as you, and you don't love doing it, it's not a strength, you got to get rid of that. So I love that you say that. Now, what about?
They're going to do it maybe 60% like you would, but they're going to do it 100% better than you're going to, because they're going to give it their attention. They're going to do it a little bit differently, and you hate doing it anyway. So like that is a decision that takes courage, but it's an important one to recognize that if you keep hitting the ceiling and you can't seem to get through it, I guarantee you it's an issue with the resources that you have. And it's time to invest in somebody. Maybe it's just the back office stuff. Have somebody take care of AR and do your billing for you. If you're in some sort of consulting business, or outsource something that doesn't make you money, because as the business owner, you need to be focused on the things that make you money. That should be 80% of your day right there.
Do you remember your key hire, your first key hire that you were like, oh my gosh.
Yeah, she's my business partner. You just met her. So Mandy was when I had my first radio show, Mandy was my producer. And we worked together. We did a syndicated radio show 5 days a week, 2 hours a day, live call-in, breaking news show, commentary. And I was in Boston and she was based in Orlando. So we worked together over Skype, just like this. And she did the phones, she produced the show. And I turned to my husband after a week of working with her, because she's, I'm almost 50. Mandy is late 20s. She's freaking hilarious. She's super smart. And she's the kind of person that just figures everything out. She's a musician, went to Berklee School of Music, understands technology, crazy sports fan, like just so much complimentary stuff that I don't bring to the table. So I said to Chris, literally a week after working with her, when I launch a company, I'm doing it with her. End of story. And so having Mandy as a business partner, we've launched and sold a business together. We're now running another business together. It's freaking incredible.
I saw her. She's awesome. And you brag about her. So she should feel special, and she's making your brand happen too. So I love that. That's a good partnership.
Well, it's our brand. You know what I mean? Like, I might be the person that's in front, and you as the owner of your business, you tend to feel like it's your thing. When you start to really think about what you're building is our thing, not necessarily that people have equity, although Mandy is, an equity partner in everything that we're doing. But how you treat people equitably, like they're part of this thing, that changes how you view your business too. What are we building versus what are you doing? I actually think anybody can be groomed into being incredible. Okay. And so there's a couple things. One is, if people are not motivated, they probably don't have clear direction. So we have a son that has dyslexia, and it's taught me a lot about learning styles. And so a lot of times what happens when you hire people is we avalanche them with information, and then we step back and we do nothing. And then we step in a week later and we micromanage the hell and nitpick out of the little details, which demoralizes somebody. What people actually need when they start, and even as they go along with you, is they need to be basically trained and directed and acknowledged every step of the way very consistently. You need to spend 80% of your time telling people what they're doing right, so that you build their self-esteem and their confidence, because when you look at the science around confidence, it is all anchored in competency. So is somebody's competency around a task, whether it's how we book your travel, or how you put up an internet post, or how you like your emails written when you're dealing with clients, that will take time for somebody to understand and build competency. And it's over time that they gain the confidence to do it themselves. If you start swooping in and nitpicking at the small, piddly little shit, you're going to demoralize this person. So tons of acknowledgement, breaking things down into little pieces and being very clear. This is why I'm not good at managing folks, because I move a million miles an hour, and it takes patience and consistency to properly train somebody. The other thing that's really important is people want to know that they matter. You know, nobody wants to show up at your business and feel like nobody gives a crap. So one of the most important things you can do, and this is research from a 3-year-long research study that was done at Google about, or excuse me, I think it was done at Facebook. It's called Project Aristotle, and they wanted to know what makes for the most engaged teams. And the singular factor was whether or not the manager asked people for their opinion. So if you're sitting in a meeting, don't ever leave a meeting with your team without going around the table and asking everybody what their reaction is to what you're talking about. Because what you're modeling is, hey, me as the owner, I don't just care about what Peter and Mel say because they're annoying and they're loud and they're extroverted and they're going to make me listen. I actually care about what everybody thinks. And so you're modeling in a very public way, all of you matter. All of your opinions matter. So that level of training, very important. Acknowledgement, very important. Asking people for their input, very, very, very important. You do those things and, you'll win. The people.
You got to get rid of the ego, because I see managers and I get people that reach out to me and they're like, well, I know what's best. I don't want to ask my team. And that's why the team is not motivated. But I think you have to remove the ego. Would you say?
Yeah. Yeah. Like, it's about managing and leading people is all about being a fan of people. It's about building them up. We shouldn't call it leading teams. We should call it building up teams. Like, the leader is not somebody that should be in front with everybody following. The leader should be the person behind the team, cheering for them, directing them to pivot a little to the left. Like, the greatest ideas come from people that are on the front lines tinkering. It's the way that the Frappuccino, most people don't even know how the Frappuccino was invented. It was invented by some guy that worked at a Santa Monica Starbucks. And he had an instinct that every time that it was hot, they weren't busy. So he took all the ingredients that they had, the milk and the cream and the sugar and the coffee grinds. And he started tinkering with a blender in the back room. He brought his own blender in, by the way. They didn't have them in 1993. And a month later, a VP walks in, and this guy, Greg Rogers, who worked for Starbucks, was like, hey, come here, I want to show you something. And he gave him a sip, and the VP was so impressed, he took it straight to Howard Schultz, the CEO of Starbucks.
Wow.
Now, it took them a year at corporate, because that's what happens at corporate, to figure out, what are we going to do? They decided to pilot it, guys, 1 year later. Just pilot it for a couple weeks in that Santa Monica store. Within 2 weeks, Peter, it was 40% of sales. It's now 20% of Starbucks global revenue. So you don't know. The people that work for you have incredible ideas because they're in the trenches. I'm going to tell you something. The community managers that run our courses, that are in the private Facebook groups for the courses that we run on confidence and courage and clarity, they know my student body better than I do. They have way better ideas for how to improve the course because they're in it. And so I'm missing out if I literally let my ego or my fear do the talking and I don't stop and say, hey, wait a minute, let's hear from everybody because your ideas are probably going to be better than mine. Let's go.
It's been a difference maker for me. A lot of my team is better than me at certain areas, and I trust their judgment. I ask them for opinions all the time, and I think they take the brand. They feel like they're responsible for the success, and they're part of the movement, and I love that. So I had to get rid of my ego, but I feel like they know certain areas better than I do, and that's how your team should be. You shouldn't have to make every decision at every level when you're the CEO or founder.
People forget that Gary Vaynerchuk has, 600 people working in his media company? So a lot of people watch his videos and he's awesome. And I love the fact that he's moving kind of away from social and into personal development and more about being satisfied with your life rather than successful and being a great human being instead of hustle, 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 hustle. And you forget, though, that there is a freaking huge machine behind that guy. And this gets back to our very beginning point. You can look at the people that inspire you, and you either use it as inspiration and as goalposts to start working towards, or you'll catch yourself bashing yourself with incomplete information. The number one thing I want you guys to do, obviously we've hammered action, is I want you to start to practice your mindset. When you feel your thoughts drift over here and they're negative, or they're not serving you, or they're doubtful, I want you to 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and I want you to insert something, an anchor thought around you and your success. So for me, when I am thinking about the event business and I immediately go, no one's showing up, this will be a huge failure. Who do you think you are? That's a dumb idea. I yank it back. I mentally bitch slap myself. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. And then the anchor thought is me with my team. This is the vision that I have. The event is over. We're all on the floor, exhausted. And I'm saying, I can't believe how freaking amazing that was. And so who knows if that's going to be the reality, but what happens is that thought tricks my mind, and my mind literally goes, oh wait, she's not nervous about it. She's actually excited about what's going to happen. And so by doing that, not only am I building the muscle of having a attitude and a mindset that serves me, I'm also developing the self-control to stabilize the physiology part of self-doubt, because I don't ever let it hijack me. I'm doing it right now a lot with my son. Our 12-year-old is at camp, and we've gotten some really sad letters, SOS, I hate myself, get me out of here, I'll do anything, I want to come home, typical 12-year-old homesick stuff. And I've talked to his counselors, they're assuring us that he's a smiley self during the day. It's during the rest period where he's writing letters that he's suddenly sounding suicidal. And I don't sound that jokingly. He literally wrote, I want to die. So I'm like, call the camp. Okay, what's going on? And I noticed that my mind, literally, it's raining today here in Boston. And I'm like, oh my God, he's depressed in his cabin. Oh no, he's out in the Berkshires. He said, and I'm like, wait, what are you doing, Mel? 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Think about seeing him on Sunday and smiling and introducing you to his friends. Do not dwell there. I have no idea what state he's in right now. Why would I want to torture myself? You can control what you think about. It is a choice. It's normal to feel nervous, guys. It's a choice to let yourself stay there. It's normal to feel overwhelmed. It is a choice to remain there. It's normal for me as a mother to be worried about my kid. It is a choice to let myself stay there. Period. Choose wisely. Hey, it's Mel. Thank you so much for checking this video out. And if you like this one, I have a feeling you're going to like this one too. I'll see you there.